All right, hey, how you guys doing? This is Neil. Gonna do this drawing for you here. That's how the drawing is gonna look. You just saw a glimpse of what it's gonna look like. Here's the photo it's based on. So I did like the sketch version of it, but people were just like, I didn't really teach how to draw on it. It was just a sped up video like this one, and so I guess people really don't find that helpful because it's just a sketch, me just sketching. It's not really explaining anything. I'm gonna try to explain some of the things I'm doing in this. But basically, this is just to show if you use these kind of techniques, you can get total realism, or you can do like a sketch type thing and not get total realism. It's up to you what your end goal is. I find this kind of stuff really tedious and kind of boring because there's a lot of looking. You have to like look at exactly what you're drawing and go the angles and go, okay, there's angles that way and this way and the other way. And yeah, sometimes it's really difficult, and you might have to like actually draw a grid on the photo and then a grid on what you're doing in order to make it, you know, work out for you so you can actually do it all. Anyway, so now I'm working on the face, and I'm only using like two brushes here. I'm using my blender brush. You can get all my brushes for free, by the way. Just go to my website, masterpaintingnow.com, and on that website, go to the subscription page, and you'll see how to download the brushes for PaintStorm and all that stuff. So yeah, anyway, they're free. They're pretty awesome. So that's the blender brush, which you'll see I'm going to use here in a little bit. This brush I'm using right now is actually a default pencil brush built into PaintStorm. Absolutely awesome. I love it. It looks like real pencils. I really love doing my versions of it where it's like a sketch, because that looks really cool. But anyway, what's cool if you want to get like a drawing is my blender brush kind of almost works along with this pencil brush, kind of works like one of those stumps, where you can take the paper that's rolled up, the little blender stumps, and it almost works just like that. It's really cool. So anyway, this is just paying attention to a lot of details. I have a whole video where I do a real-time video where I do a drawing where we want to make it look like what we're looking at. It's a long video, but it shows all the techniques of how to kind of develop a grid and stuff like that. And then I'm doing all that here, but I'm doing it like in my mind. So I'm like really making a lot of angles and stuff and thinking about those angles. And some stuff I need to erase because it just wasn't right. Like those nostrils are just way too big. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to reduce them, make them a lot smaller. And there's when you have a nose from this angle, it's actually really difficult. It really does take shading. If you're going to do a more of like a sketch type thing or just more of a drawing and not really going to have all the shading to look realistic, then I highly recommend you have to just change the nose and make it thinner and smaller to make it look cuter. And maybe even at a slightly different angle rather than this kind of up angle or whatever. And yeah, you just got to do some tricks to make it look a little bit different. And I'm not going with total photorealism. I'm going definitely with realism, but and I guess there is some, as you saw the finished product there, and you'll see it again at the end. There is some level of photorealism, I suppose, but mostly it's just I want it to look realistic, and I want it to look like what I'm drawing. And so yeah, and the original one I didn't want it to look like what I was drawing. I just wanted to kind of have the similar pose and stuff like that. And this one here, I was like, you know what? But people, like I said, they didn't really find it beneficial because I wasn't, like when I do just like regular sketch stuff, I think the best thing for that would be if I'm actually teaching, so more like real time or whatever. And if I do speed it up to make sure that I, only speed up certain parts of it and then make sure I'm really giving a lot of information on how. You saw there, I saw the arm was too thick because the hand. I saw in the photo that the arm is actually the fingers extend past the arm, and so I'm like, okay, I got to make the arm thinner. And there's little things like that, like you'll draw a certain thing, and then you'll be like, oh, okay, so this obviously has to change and to be relation with that, based on the photo. Like I said, this kind of drawing to me is not that fun because you're trying to draw exactly what you're seeing. And so it takes a lot of those techniques where I show in the video where it talks about drawing what you see. And in that case, it's literally doing a lot of angles and measuring and thinking about angles. And over time, you get better and better. You can do it without actually having to draw those angles, but you're still thinking about all that stuff. Like all that's, even though I'm not drawing it on the page, the different angles and stuff, and like what basically doesn't look like a grid, even though I'm not drawing that on the page, I'm thinking about it. So all that's on the page in my brain. And the same is true like for little things like where shading goes inside the arm. Even that you have to think about it. You have to go, okay, you know, and it's so tricky, especially if the drawing you're looking at, like if the source you're looking at is bigger than what you're drawing, and you get focused on looking at a hand, or you zoom in on the hand on the photo and then start drawing, it might make the hand too big, or now you're trying to fit in details into the hand. You have to then make them smaller because what you're looking at is bigger than what you're drawing. It's hard to explain, but when you start doing it, and then if you double check and make sure it's right, you'll be like, oh wow, that was definitely not right. Or if you just like do it, then like at the end you're like, wait, that doesn't look right at all. So yeah, it's definitely not easy. It takes a lot of, well, it's not difficult either. It just takes a lot of time. I find it far more difficult to draw a character from my imagination, you know, to draw some really cool character, or even just to draw a normal human, you know, from my imagination, is far more difficult than this is. This might seem difficult because, you know, it's like realism and there's so much detail and stuff, but it's all right there in front of you. You just got to copy what you see. You're just being a copy machine. That's all you're doing. In this case, you know, I am converting it to black and white. I'm changing some things, you know, to fit better for the black and white drawing. So I'm making certain things more higher contrast and things like that. But ultimately, all the information you need is right there, you know. Whereas if you're designing a character, you have to really invent a lot of the stuff that exists only in that character's, you know, in your imagination. Like, you know, when I say design a character, I mean like maybe you're designing some cool alien or something like that. Something that doesn't exist in real life, and that's a little bit harder. But if you have to, even if you have to, you know, alter what you're seeing, you know, like, you know, you're drawing something cool. So another video I made recently was something I find far more fun. You kind of don't draw exactly what you see. You just kind of base it on that. So you're mostly drawing from imagination, but you're occasionally looking at the photo in order to just like make sure your anatomy is right and stuff like that. And so you're adding some of that details onto it, but you're not trying to copy exactly what you see. So the pose isn't going to be exactly what you're looking at. It's going to be a little bit different, you know, and that's far more fun. That was the first thing I did when I did the sketch of this one. But like I said, people didn't find it very helpful because this is a sped up, you know, sketch. So this here isn't going to be all that helpful either. Maybe I've said some things in this that will help you, but this isn't a tutorial in any way. What I found here, what I should have done, there's so much detail in the butt, and this is what I should have. I should have originally just did what I did right here at the end. So what I ended up doing is I just shaded it all a dark color, and then add all those subtle little details by using a slightly lighter color to lighten it up. So that's pretty much it. I'm done. I decided it's hard to see on the photo, but she does have water in her leg. And I was like, you know, I could do the water, but then I was like, after I did the water drops, it looks really cool when you kind of view it more close up. But if you view it at like an angle or like further away, like it's gonna, like you want to view the whole thing like this, then you can't really see the drops anyway. It looks weird. So I decided to leave them out. That's why I did on a separate layer just in case I didn't like it. All right, so yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the whole drawing. The whole drawing. This is sped up 15 times faster. You can do the math, so it's like 8 minutes video. So eight minutes times what, 15 times faster than 8 minutes. I don't know exactly how much time. I think it was around 2 hours or so that it took me to do this in real time. And you know, sometimes it'll take 5 hours. It just depends on how much detail you add. Like I could have kept adding more detail to it, but I decided to stop there. I didn't want to add like skin detail and hair detail or anything like that. So yeah, anyway, it's good exercise to do once in a while just to make sure that you're still training your mind to draw what you see in front of you and to make sure it's accurate and shapes are accurate, sizes are accurate, that shadows go where they're supposed to go. It really does train your mind to see better. So I guess it's good to do once in a while if you haven't done it in a while. If you're already good at it, you know, and you just it's good to do that exercise once. So I'm kind of glad I did it. But anyway, hopefully you've liked the video and I've given you some things that will help you when drawing. If you like this video, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up. All right, thanks.